Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another of my monologues. I'm going to be a bit out of depth on this one. This is not a subject that I know terribly much, but a viewer of mine sent in this little web page, and I thought we would have, just for a bit of fun, have a look at it and see what you make of it. Now, some people think that this subject is absolutely 100% real, and other people think that this is a kind of a deception in and of itself and is perhaps a hoax. Who knows? There's so much deception going on in this world, it's hard to sort of keep a grip on what's true and what's not true. Especially when you start to think, hang on a minute, we've got a soul and we're looking at the world, and is that world just a pretend thing anyway? Is it flat? Is it round? Or is it an assimilation? Who knows? So before we get to that, just want to say a big thank you. A number of people have been donating to keep the show going, and I very much appreciate that. Being demonetized by YouTube, on the one hand, keeps my hands clean. I'm not taking the corporate money anymore, which is good news. But on the other hand, one still has to put food in one's mouth, keep the electricity, paid, and all other bits and pieces that we need to do. So I appreciate all the very kind donations, and it's very kind of you. Thank you very much indeed. So let's have a look at this. Are you somebody who believes in cloning? Are you somebody who thinks that cloning actually takes place? Are people that you see on the television or on YouTube or in power, are they clones of somebody else? And are they able, as clones, then to be controlled? Are they some form of robot, or are they some humanoid that the DNA has been shifted about? There seems to be a number of different options on what cloning is. I was chatting to a friend of mine, and he was saying that apparently there is a company out there that will clone your dog or a loved pet. And I thought, well, what is the process then? Do you have to effectively wait, for that dog to grow from a little tiny dog up to the full length? So let's say your dog was 12 years old and you would like to replace that dog if it died in an accident or just of old age or something. Then what would you do? Would you go, yeah, you can have a dog, but it'll take 12 years to get to the point that you were at the point where your dog died? Or do you just then have another puppy and go through it? And then there was the sense that what if you wanted to clone your wife or husband or children? And do you then, let's say you're a man of 30 and you think, my wife's just died. She's just had some awful disease or had an accident, whatever it is. I loved her so much, I'll just clone her. So you scrape a bit of the DNA, you give it to the clone company, and it says, yes, come back in 30 years and you'll have a fully fledged wife just as you last saw her. Well, you've got to wait. So if you're 30, you've got to wait 30 years for your wife to come back to that age. You'll be 60, she'll be 30. Now, you may think, lucky old 60-year-old, eh? But you've got 30 years to wait. You may have met someone, your life may have changed, there may be all sorts of other things. Is it really like that? Or is it more that you go, my wife has died, or my dog has died, or my child has died, or the husband has died, that you just go to the place and they say, don't come back in 3 weeks, and we'll have an automated person that looks just like your person and with AI can talk just the same. Is that how it works? This is why I said I was a bit out of my depth on this. Now, I know a friend of mine is writing a book about this, and no doubt when he's finished his book, I'll get him on the show to try and explain to me how all of this works. In the meantime, let's have a look at this web page that somebody sent me and see what it's all about. This is In the Light News, which I think is a spiritual newspaper or a website, I should say, but it's a fascinating thing. So I guess, I don't know whether this is real or whether that's an AI image of so-called cloning areas. It reminds me of a Woody Allen film. Rapid human cloning. So by rapid, presumably then it means in a short space of time, of course, rather than having to wait. It does talk about the rabbit hole. It talks about the origins of human cloning and this, that, and the other. Cloning facilities. It says here the first cloning centres were secret taxpayer-funded NSA black sites in various locations at the world. It's always a tax-funded, isn't it? It's always we're doing this and we don't know what it is. It talks here about handlers. Clones don't know they are clones, but they may understand there are doctors or handlers around them. Handlers usually come from intelligence or military. They guide clones from place to place, and their responsibilities may vary. Sometimes a family member, including the spouse, can take the role of a handler. There can be financial agreements or threats to make others go along with it. It's all very strange. Here it talks about the process, and let's have a quick dive into that then, shall we? Specific technical details about the process won't be discussed, it says, but the Palladians share basic information to help us understand. So I guess the Palladians are, what, are they an alien race? Rapid growth. It takes about 5 months, it says, to rapidly age a clone and program it to program it and speak and act as the original person. Clones are created from existing DNA, it says here, and grown from an embryo affected by an external source to speed up growth. How do they know this? The rapid growth process can create a puffy or plastic look which fades naturally, and additional surgery is used to match scars, tattoos, or other details. Is this really true? Consciousness and soul. Human beings are souls inhabiting bodies, and clones are soulless. Therefore, a clone is never the original person. It's a misconception that our body is powered by our soul. Medical science does not recognize the soul, yet understands that the body operates like a machine powered by the energy we consume. And the last bit here I'm just going to delve into is clones are brain-powered machines and have no soul-based consciousness. They have no soul, plan, or karma. They can display similar feelings like anger and recall the enemy of past emotions, but aren't capable of love or spirituality. So, is this just, a bunch of nonsense? Or does it really happen? We are told that they cloned a sheep. And and then we were told that I wasn't told this, but apparently we were told that the clone couldn't have babies, but the sheep apparently did have babies. But did the sheep really get cloned? How do we know anything is true? I mean, this is the problem, that you and I will go online, or we'll hear some discussion, or we'll go to a talk, and somebody will say some words, and we'll nod as if it's all true. We are very programmable people. These souls in these bodies are very programmable. We know that there is things such as hypnosis, for example, and under a trance or put into a trance, you can have post-hypnotic suggestions. You can see things. I've done it myself. I have hypnotized people. I have hypnotized a young girl. I say young girl, I was young at the time, we were in our 20s, and I hypnotized a woman and made her see another member of the group, a clone of the group. I said, you can see, if you open your eyes, you will see that there are two Rogers. And so she opened her eyes, said and of course there was the original Roger, my friend Roger, and then there was nobody sitting in a chair, and I said, and you'll see there's a second Roger. And she looked, and she could not believe that there were two. She says, oh my goodness, hang on, this is mad. And I said, well, can you tell me which is the real Roger? And she said, well, I assume it's this one, because before you put me into a hypnotic trance, he was sitting there, but this one I don't know about, but he looks so real. And I said, well, if you look at this one over here, he is now levitating. And she was watching. Now, of course, I have to take her word for it that she actually saw these things, but I do believe from her reactions, which were quite astounding, that she did see these things. I've hypnotized other people I used to do this years and years ago. I haven't done it for a long, long time. But we do know that the power of hypnosis can make the mind suggest things. We are very programmable, is what I'm getting up to. And we're very susceptible to stories. We do like a good story, don't we? And so we start to believe things. And the government have told us all sorts of nonsense that we accepted. I believe that 5 years ago, as we're coming up to the 5-year anniversary of being told something that was prevalent in the air and airborne and disastrous and a terrible thing, we were told these things that if we didn't bar ourselves inside our house and stay there quivering like jelly, we could get infected by this airborne thing and end up hardly breathing, going blue and dying. And thanks to what I believe to have been a deadly plan, a terrible, dastardly plan, in which the end of the year before, something was put into a number of people, maybe something to do with flu prevention. And they started to wheeze and cough and not breathe and drop down dead in the March of that year, 5 years ago. And as a result of that, that kind of was a good excuse for the government to say, oh, look, those people are snuffing it. Therefore, this so-called airborne, you know what, must be true. When I think that was just a complete and utter made-up thing, personally. And there will be people out there who say, but I had somebody who did snuff it as a result of this thing. But I would then ask, did they take something? Were they at their GP surgery having needles and things for something unrelated happen? Anyway, point is, in this, I'm just wondering, are we susceptible to all sorts of nonsense? And do we believe anything? And how do we know things are true? As soon as we start talking about aliens and cloning and things like that, I just wonder, are we again being deceived? Or is it true? Is it true? Personally, I think that if you were able to effectively clone somebody, they wouldn't be the same as the cloned thing before, because we are unique, we are individual, and we have a consciousness that I don't think that can be copied, like sitting with your bum on a photocopier to make it the same. I don't think that's possible. I think that there is a lot of deception going on, but I am open to being persuaded otherwise, of course, and that is what the nature of this is, having an open mind. What is really going on? What are we actually living in? Are we seeing anything that is really true? Who knows? Anyway, I'd be interested in your thoughts on that, but there we are. That, as I said, I was a bit out of my depth on this one, but it's a fascinating subject, and I thought I would share that with you. The link will be in the description so that you can check it out. In the meantime, thank you for your wonderful donations, keeping the show going. I appreciate it very much, and thank you also for watching and sharing these videos. Until next time, goodbye.